substantially more difficult for us.
And you're way the heck over there?
Way over there. Okay,
Why?
we're recording Milan.
Okay, you're gonna watch me serve water.
I have.
Okay, recording is on. We're starting off this thing with serving of water. That'll be the new tradition, the serving of water. The other tradition will be that not everybody gets water.
I'm working on it. I'm
Here,
working on it.
I don't need one, I brought my own. I'm good. We're good.
Oh, we're good? Okay.
We're in our new days. All right, that is, I'm sorry we're late, it's 5:07. 5:02 or 5:02, so let's call this meeting of the Art Commission to order. Why don't you everybody silence your phone when you have a chance. Looking at that, it's not silence. We're ready to go, so we'll do a roll call. J.R. Russell, the chair. From those of you out in TV land, I'm real far away. I'm a lot bigger in real life. Okay, position number 2, Carla Freund.
Here.
Okay, Mary Hines.
Here.
Joanna Hanson. Not here.
We received,
She did submit her resignation.
Okay,
okay,
that's,
thank you.
thank you. Cynthia Mason, our vice chair.
Present.
Tracy Davidson.
Here,
Tracy Kingsbury.
present.
Council member Chris.
Wittgenstein.
Yeah.
He's traveling today, he was one of the council members traveling to Olympia for city action days, and they're coming home this evening.
And Mayor let us know that he would be absent for this meeting.
Hopefully, now that do I have to do that all over because didn't have the mic on? No. Okay, all right. With that, we're going to move to item number 2, the approval of the agenda.
I motion to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Going around, we got that. So the agenda is approved. Item number 3 is the approval of the minutes from our January 11th meeting. Does anybody have any comments? Did everybody have a chance to take a look at those?
Yes, no
Okay.
comments.
No comments? Do I have a motion to approve those?
Motion to approve.
Second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Did we do that right? Okay, I've got head nods, so those are approved. Now we can move to public comment. Is there a public? Are you public, or are you just sitting there?
I'm just making sure nothing blows up on.
Okay. For the record, public comment was, he's just sitting here to make sure nothing blows up. So far, we're good on, who the heck are you? Who's that?
My name's Brandon Cable. I'm the new park supervisor for the city of Bode Harbor.
Oh, very good.
You're that guy.
I am that guy, yes.
I've heard of you. I had a couple of people who were mentioning your name, and it's like, okay.
Hopefully all good comments. I'm
No,
assuming.
it
That's what I
wasn't at
figured.
all. No. Well, cool, welcome aboard.
Yes.
So that does that. So now let's go into 5, discussion, action, presentation, report items. The first one on there is the arts budget for 2024.
All right, so I've handed each of you a copy of not the year-to-date, the end-of-year budget for the Creative Arts Fund. You'll see in here total revenues, $337,930. We had $60,533 within the 2023 year, and you see in that first above Creative Arts revenue section, the breakdown of that from the utility taxes and investment interests. And then so for total revenues, you have the fund balance after year-to-date actuals, 60,533. And then down below that, you have expenditures of 12,556. And then our fund balance there, $289,953. Total with 12,556 excess revenues over expenditures. So this gives you just kind of a breakdown of what's in your fund balance. The proceeds also that we can expect for this year will be very similar, about $60,000, right? We did an exercise. Gideon had broken down part of that into a budget. And actually, I should have printed that out for you, but let me pull it up here.
And I know this is new for us, so while you're doing that,
Oh, you know
Mikhail,
what? I could share
does
it
that,
on my screen.
if it goes up on a screen, does that get recorded that it's up on the screen? Okay, cool.
And that's probably a
what
better
people are
way
seeing.
to do it. So let me join
Yes.
the meeting here, and I can share my screen. Hey, Liz. Oh, you're fine.
And those that you can't see that are watching, all three of you that are watching from home, Liz Lang just walked in, entered the building. For those of you that are watching on this recording, Liz Lang just walked into the room. Which is old news to everybody now because it's a recording.
Okay, so I'll just let me share. I can show all windows. There we go. So let me go back and share this. All right. Okay. So there's the sheet that you all have for the budget, showing our fund balance and revenues for 2023. And then there we go. There. And this was the breakdown that Gideon had done for 23 and 24. Kind of a unofficial breakout of expenditures, utilizing about a third of the revenue proceeds that you got for 2023. We did allocate an additional $10,000 from 2023 for the school art project for the utility boxes, and that will just carry forward into 2024. So what I'd like to do is just take a moment. I thought about doing this as part of one of our breakout committees, but I think it's probably a better discussion for the whole commission of how you want to allocate these funds. There was some concern from council last year when you guys had a workshop with them about the fund balance getting quite large without a lot of plans for how that was going to be spent. Now the art plan will help us identify a lot of that, but I think it's probably a good exercise to restructure and update this 2024 budget so that we can be on the same page with council of this is what we're expecting to spend out of the Creative Arts Fund this year. So here's the categories that Gideon had created last year with you guys. Art project management. This is really going towards considerations around placement of art. Discretionary, so this would be more of a fund for art organization asks and art projects. You want to be careful though about treating the art fund as a grant and being grant administrators. That's not really the purpose or intent of it. So the discretionary really should be for projects that that we have not planned for, that might be presented that you feel we should invest into. Another category either to put under with this discretionary or separately would be art programming. Now that the city is engaging in art programs, we talked about having a portion of those funds for supporting the startup of those programs until they can get on their feet and we have a good comprehensive program offering running. We have the donation to the Oak Harbor School District for $5,000. I think that remains as is. Driftwood Days, did we actually, I don't think we actually did this last year. So we'll want to have a discussion about that. Music Festival, as far as I know, we don't have an ask from them, but there was allocated $300 for this in 2024. Something we'll also want to talk about. Art sculpture maintenance, obviously with the Acorn, which we'll be talking about a little later, things like that we'll want to consider and probably put some money. So I'm going to just kind of create here a 2024 revised budget, and I'll turn it over to you for discussion and to put it together and then make a motion to adopt and recommend approval by council.
Thank you. I'm going to jump in here, Brian. This is the first I've seen these, and I feel like I don't have a good grounding on what they
Is your mic
are,
on?
and it seems that it's not as complex as it should be.
Right.
As an example, I really don't have a good understanding of that first one. How is that, who does that go to? Who is managing the projects?
I think our project management was being used for placement of art pieces, like for instance, permitting expenditures and things like that for the angel statue and expenditures like that.
Okay, Cynthia.
So it is very lean, and without a plan in place, like Brian said, this is the best we could do to operate to try to move projects forwards, like the installation of Tau, and there was another one in the park. I can't remember. So as Gideon got more involved, he wanted to pull together numbers for those things that were on the table. Therese had asked for the Oak Harbor Music Festival table to bring in artists to that event, funded by the Arts Commission, to share the table to demonstrate what they were doing. So it basically talks about things we were trying to get done versus a plan in place, a true plan. And as far as sculpture maintenance, Brian, I have a question. Won't that become more and more robust as our plan is developed? Because will this pot of money, if you would, become more targeted for existing art pieces for maintenance?
Yeah, I imagine there's a perpetual maintenance cost to,
Yep.
to all the pieces. We've also talked about some improvements, like putting placards on the pieces that we want to budget for and things like that.
I almost feel like this is a little bit premature until the plan is in place. Could we wait for our plan to be in place, Brian, before we did this?
Well, the plan won't be in place until near the
Next
end of the year, right? So I think you have 60,000 that's going to be coming in revenue wise, right? So I guess my recommendation is to budget to that 60,000 and just allocate that out between the different line items. We know that we have 50,000 we want to spend on the art plan. That can come out of reserves or part of that 60,000. But this is going to be a little bit of without an art plan in place, this is what we're expecting for implementation this year.
So with that being said, I actually had hoped to bring something to the table for everybody tonight, and it has to do with the Wearable Art Fashion Show, which is in its third year. And it's it's a really wonderful opportunity, and it's going to be very exciting to see this grow. And it's the first time that they are asking for sponsors, and the title sponsorship is $3,000. And I thought it'd be a really cool thing for the Arts Commission to back and help launch something like this. Not, if it's not this, but it was an example. I would love to see us fund it for the title sponsor and have the Arts Commission
Is that
present, partner with.
And is that's a city event?
It is, it's not,
Do you want me to speak to that?
Am I supposed to?
So
Can you
it-
hear me now?
Liz,
Yes.
Liz Lang.
Okay, I'm green. I'm good. Okay. So yes, the Wearable Art Show is put on by the Oak Harbor Senior Center Foundation, which is a 501c3 nonprofit, and the funds go to the foundation to help support programs, our older adult programs, which are ran by the City of Oak Harbor Parks and Recreation. So this event is co-sponsored by the Parks and Recreation team and staff, but it is an Oak Harbor Senior Center Foundation event.
That's perfect. I think that's
Okay,
actually
Mary,
perfect.
go ahead.
Thank you. I think that's actually perfect for what
what we want to see.
we want to see, and I think what the community would want to see, like where's the money going, and also to be able to have that sponsorship there noted in public that this is what the Arts Commission is doing. So I'm
Given the fact that this is just a budget, it's not expenditure. So like where we have music festival table, we could, I don't know what the category is, but if it's community outreach money and we say $20,000, then we could break that down further so that money would go towards the wearable art, money could go towards the music festival, and then we could look at individual events such as Driftwood Days, Holland Happening, and whether or not we use that money for those is okay. And if we say, well, we budgeted, $20,000 for these community events or the community outreach, and we needed 30, we're going to go over budget on that item, but there is money there that, if I'm correct, there's money there that could be used, that we could tap into. Is that true?
Yeah, so the intent is to take a general budget to council and say, hey, here's what we're expecting to fund and would like approval for funding out the Creative Arts Fund this year. So we only have to do it once rather than going to council every single time we have an expenditure, right? And if there's something that's unforeseen that wouldn't be within the budget that we get approved under discretionary, or something else that would be larger and we need additional funds for, we could just go to council to get that appropriation done, and that would be ratified during the budget amendment.
I like the sound.
you have to push.
Good.
But
Therese,
Oh, sorry.
Therese, you going to say something?
I was just going to say that we were partnering with WIAC, Whidbey Island Arts Council, and they're partnering with the city to put on programs, and we've been giving them for the last 5 years, $1,000 to go towards their arts and education fund for the island-wide, but circling back around and working with the center to create programs and then helping sponsor the cost of those programs as a partnership, and then even bringing in other nonprofits in the community. So it's like take that 7 on the top and add it to, a couple of other things, and that fund for, like JR said, for the community and for community outreach could be more than we're talking about here, and easily not too much to take on, because we already have these promises and asks that we've been continuing with. And I love giving the schools some money, but There's also a lot going on in the community, and just watching some of the programs get started at the center, it's exciting to see that happen, and I think we should be part of that as well.
Carla?
Isn't that considered community support, though? Isn't that a
Yes.
discretionary community support fund? So if we just
Market.
Yeah,
mark
and
it
I think we
higher
can just
and,
put that lump sum under community support, and we can just kind of list out, what all those that we're expecting are, and then kind of have a miscellaneous discretionary line.
Because it sounds like right now, we have more community outreach ideas. And if we pad that, and I don't know what that number is, Brian, you give us a good number. Is it $20,000? Is it the remainder above the, whatever we need for the art plan? And then, example, community outreach event would be, we want to use $3,000. Right now, we know we want to do the wearable art thing. Let's just do it. We know that we want to set up tables, and we know we want to work with the center on some of these different programs.
So you said 3,000. How much for the wearable art show?
3,000.
3,000.
we're going to need about 7,000.
Okay. Well,
So 5,000 to WIAC, is that
WIAC,
WIAC? No. 5,000 to the school district?
it was a 1,000.
It has been 1,000, but the money's just gonna go right back into the community regardless of the amount.
So 1,000 for WIAC, yeah.
Okay.
For 2,500?
5,000 for the school district?
Yes. 10.
sure, because it's, again, this is just, okay, we've got something to shoot for. Whether or not we use it, all of it, none of it, or we have to use more, at least we can throw something out there that there's a rough target that we could aim for.
Music Fest?
Well, if we do table at Music Fest in Holland Happening. And
Cynthia?
thank you. So if you want to do, if you want to have representation at chamber-sponsored or other sponsored events, you can say on average, it's going to be $300 a booth. And we think of Holland Happening as our first spring event, and I know we had talked about representation from those that we were talking with, Brian, who's hopefully developing our plan.
Right.
So that would be the first one, and then the music festival's not till late summer, and then there's the 4th of July.
Is that 300 for Holland Happening for a booth? as well?
I'm guessing, but I think that would be.
Liz?
You know, Liz?
Yes, so I spoke to the event coordinator at the chamber, and she said we could have a booth at Holland Happenings for $50, which I thought was a steal. But what I would suggest is we're going to want some nice signage, maybe like a table cover that has Arts Commission or, that kind of some branding. So you might want to consider maybe some funds for things like that, especially if you're going to continue to do booths, then you have kind of your booths set
Swag.
up. Yeah.
And
swag.
because we've not done it before, and this would be a first, when we use an example of the Holland Happening, which is item B on here, and say, okay, there's signage, there's promotion, there's whatever, this actually cost us X. We'll say, let's just say it cost us $1,000. So now we know that for Music Festival, we want to pretty much do the same type of thing. There's going to be $1,000. It's going to be 4th of July, it's going to be $1,000.
Also keep in mind, so we'll talk about this later when we talk about the art plan, but Framework is planning to have a booth at Holland Happening as part of a survey input booth for the art plan. And those expenditures actually come out of that budget. So they have set aside some outreach budget, so.
The fact that they are going to have a booth, can we be like next to them?
Right, like, won't it be a shared booth?
Shared booth?
Like, we'll be there with them? Could it be one, or do you think it'd be?
I think, Brian, we had envisioned it was going to be shared.
Right, yeah, it'd just be
Yeah,
one
like
booth.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Carla.
Have we had a booth before, a table before at any kind of thing? We have?
We've had, right in front of the mall, Margaret's giving me or sold me for the Arts Commission 2 tent spaces. So we'd have 2 tents side by side, and they all zip together, and then somewhere between 3 and 5 artists sharing the space so that we're
So we've done that
advocating
before.
artists. We've done it several times.
Oh,
And then
okay.
we reach out to the community of artists and find people that want to come.
But was it part of the art commission?
Yes, the art commission paid for it.
So it's artists doing art,
Yes.
not us trying to,
No, it's
Okay.
interacting with artists. So there'll be a painter and a, whoever we find,
okay. Thank you.
or a poet.
So Brian, you're entering numbers over there, and it's a long ways for us to see, and I'm like, is this successful for you? Are you getting enough information?
Yep, I can make this bigger for you. So I'm just kind of getting a running tally of community programs that you might want to support, just so we can kind of get a number.
July
That
4th.
10,000 is about right where we want to be. Can you think of anything else outside of these ones?
July 4th.
Mary?
July 4th?
Have we contributed to July 4th or had a booth there?
I don't
before?
think we've, in the time that I've been here, I don't think we've done anything. So I don't know what happened previously, pre-pandemic.
Cynthia?
Thank you.
Am I doing this?
This is really
I don't know,
odd.
am I
We're so
doing
used
this
to
right?
being
Because
so much
people
more
are talking
relaxed.
and I figured I gotta, like,
Yeah,
So,
that's your job.
I think it's good.
I do.
All right.
We can name out all of the events in town, but if Framework is going to have representation doing what we intend to do within the plan, then
So-
we don't have to do it. This year.
You're basically already paying for it through that
Yes.
kind of budget.
Yes.
so, the number that you throw up there right now is probably a good start. It just, without turn around and just, because we're just throwing stuff out here. Instead of throwing concrete ideas that we've washed out, we're just, spitballing things right now, and I don't think that's a good use of our time right now, today. Go ahead. Therese?
Based on what Cynthia said with Framework, representing us and then asking our community what they want to see happen, I think we go back after Frameworks, talk to the community, and then adjust all this. But I don't want to walk away from things we've already done, but there might be something there that we are not even aware of that they want.
Carla?
I agree with you. I think it's something, maybe we have a subcommittee for this kind of community outreach stuff, and we discuss what we really want to do at these festivals or next year, yeah. Thanks.
So Brian, are you happy? Do we need to discuss this more?
I would-
What would you like us, we're looking for a little bit of guidance on this.
Yeah, I'd look for a number for art project management as well as art maintenance and art programs.
Mary?
So under the, this maintenance, because now I think we have all of mostly everything up. And so I think allocating we can list out each item. And then, because there's different sizes and different needs. We don't have the information either. So, but maybe allocate like $500 per? Is that?
My question would be, because you've got 2023 up there and 2022, there was $7,000 that was for our project management in 2023. How much of that did we use? Because then we could say, well, we only used, with 7,000 that was a good ballpark number to start with. Tracy?
I want to dovetail off of what JR said earlier, that we're kind of spitballing here. We're not, we've not done some research on numbers. We don't have actuals, as he just mentioned as well. So I would propose, if there's a better way to go about this activity. It is an important activity, but I feel that we are not prepared right now and not being presented with enough detail to be able to make some choices.
So here's your actuals. Do you want those out, listed out in details of what each expenditure was?
I don't, I guess what I'm not seeing, is your categories there relating to the categories here. I don't see art project management, just to take the first one, that was budgeted for $7,000. And what is it? Am I just missing it here? Is it here somewhere?
Yeah, so that's professional services. That's the 7,000 you see next to professional services in the budget.
So we didn't use anything. There's 0 on actuals then.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, engineering might not have made that transfer yet for 2023.
And we didn't
We're trying
spend
best.
anything on repairs and maintenance then?
We spent 46,000 under machinery and equipment. 852 under miscellaneous. So those two items are going to be where most of your expenditures were, and we can get a breakout of those.
I mean, that reflects
Oh, yeah, Therese, I was looking at numbers.
the city-borne expenses that are associated with the sculpture, the angel. So
Right.
there were several permits and going back and redoing things, and there was a significant amount of money spent by the city to complete this project, and that's coming out of here. So there's
And it-
actual bills
For
to pay.
2023, does it show?
Well, he's got to break it down, and some of the bills haven't even come in, right? Yeah.
So if you want to have a fairly detailed budget rather than just kind of allocating out, okay, let's break out 60,000 by, these 4 simple categories. We can do it one of 2 ways. Either staff can just go ahead and do all that work and give you a detailed out budget and and show actuals that we had for 2023, and then give you a line item budget with descriptions. Or if you want to do it as assign it to one of the committees, we can give you that detailed information, let you guys decide how you want to build that out.
I guess I'm the deepest, the only male voice sounding here, right? So you can bring it down, yeah, it's like confuse them. Going with what Tracy has said, I don't want to make it sound like we're knuckleheads here, but we're behind a big 8 ball over here. We're just wagging some things, and there's some numbers that we don't know because we haven't been we're really aware of them, and we haven't talked about this at all. And it really, to me, if you were going to talk the 2024 budget, this is something that we should have probably talked about in October, so that we put that on the schedule to really address this thing, and we could take a look at a better look at what we did in 2023, 2022, and going back, and as we're going through the growing pains of us as a commission, we're doing pretty good at looking at items for the outreach, but the things along the lines of construction, repairs, and are things that we're really not aware of. It's only when you bring it to, or somebody brings it to our attention, like, hey, something broke and we got to fix it. We need $30,000 or $10,000. So I'd be comfortable with you guys, staff, taking it to figure out the everyday stuff, but then the projects and the miscellaneous and some of this outreach stuff is where it seems like that's where a lot of our focus is right now. And give us a number that, whether it's $10,000 or $15,000 or whatever, that we can deal with in an area that we're more familiar with than instead of sewage, plumbing, and repair.
Okay.
Did that make sense? And then, you know, we got it, now we know we have to jump on this. Cynthia?
Just to back up, Brian, your intent here with this number is to be able to go to council and ask them for this dollar amount out of the fund so we can move forward in the beginning of this year without having to go to council for all of these smaller action items.
Right.
So is there a way we can move to approve this revised budget with the $10,000 figure, and especially looking for the $50,000 for the art plan to get approved? And that's enough for now? I mean,
Therese.
meaning enough without getting into the detail of maintenance and installations.
Therese?
Having been to more city council meetings than I want to admit, there are several council members that are interested in what we do with the money, but I think what we really need to show them is an outline of what we plan to do with this ask, and we need to ask bigger than they might expect, because we're already behind the 8 ball because we're trying to get something done, and asking and asking and asking is not getting anything done. It's just reforming an ask. So if we can put it together so that they go, oh, these look good, I want to give you the money to do this, and I don't want to see you again until some of this is done. So I just think that, but they're going to want to know, not just say, we want $60,000 to spend this year. We are going to do this with the money, and then maybe this, and maybe this. But then they'll say, you know, our goals are, whether it's this year or next year. I heard Brian Stuckey say, I really want something interactive for kids, and I'm familiar with like large-scale park implements that make sound and music, and they're also something you can climb on, and it's just really interactive, and it could just be in a small, maybe Sumner Park, where you could go and you're not ruining what's going on at Windjammer, but it's like birthday parties where you could go and your thing is
And
to let the kids loose on
We're
this.
spinning out now. We're spinning off
Well,
this.
I'm just saying that I want to
That-
show City Hall the direction
Yep.
we want to go.
That's where the plan comes in. Go ahead, Mary.
The same thing is the problem last year, the last time that we went through this budget was that, and the fight with city council was that we didn't have any information. And they wanted to know the details of why we needed money. And so coming today and then not knowing, and they're like, oh, here's the budget, and then what do we want to do with it? It's still the same problem, like everyone has said. So we still need to break it out. It's gonna get pushed back, and it's gonna be a problem again. If they don't know, because this was what economic development, why, there's a lot of budgeting why from the city council versus with this money. There's no details. I'm gonna have a problem with it if I would have a problem
And
with it. Just give me some money.
The big thing is that $50,000 that's sitting for the plan. And how do we fit in with that money, with Framework as they come in, because they may tell us that we have to do something else. But we've got some items there with the outreach things that I think we're pretty comfortable addressing right now, that we want to do this. We have a ballpark figure of, it's going to probably be like $10,000 that we want to really work on the outreach. The $50,000 that we really are hoping that Framework can help us to develop more so that we can come up with some of these great ideas that the city wants to see, the people want to see. And we'll find out more with Framework when they do their stuff and like, hey, your people want to see this. And then 6 people here can help drive some of these things. So what do you think, Brian?
I think this is been a good exercise. We're just looking for some simple revisions. When we go to budget for the next biennial budget, we'll have the art plan in place, and that will be a very detailed budget based off the art plan. Your details that you're looking for are what you've been talking about with your priorities in the committees. So we can take that and the comments you've had tonight and flesh out a little more of a detailed budget for you. And we can talk about it in each of the committees and let you guys look over the expenditures that we had last year. We can have more conversation in smaller groups there, and then bring it back and then have another discussion, see if there's anything else you guys want to tweak with it, and then you can pass a motion to adopt it at that point.
What's the big deadline? What's the date?
No deadline. We'll be going to council soon for the art plan.
I think it was the 28th.
Yep, 28th, yeah. For the art plan during the 28th workshop. And then that'll go to approval, hopefully just on consent agenda on March 5th. We could do the rest of the Creative Art Fund expenditures for this year during that time. That's a quick deadline. It doesn't have to be done at the same time, or we can do it later. But there's not a hard deadline for it. And like I said, this isn't even necessarily a formalized budget. This is kind of how Gideon just sort of broke out. Okay, this is what we anticipate we'll spend this year out of the Creative Arts Fund.
Now, that being said, so that we don't run into this in February of 2025, would we be wise to say that a subcommittee to meet on the budget?
So this year we'll be doing the budget for the biennial, which will be 25 and 26, and that'll be a very formalized process, and you guys will be involved with that. And that'll be a little more of a different conversation than this one for this year, but.
Because we definitely need to have our act together when that one starts, and we'll probably have a better idea.
We'll be doing that this summer, and that gets ratified by council in November.
Go ahead, Cynthia.
With all that discussion, so these things can move forward through spring into summer, I would like to make a motion that we accept the revised budget dollar amount of $60,000 as council for permission. It's almost like a discretionary spending, not discretionary, specific, but it's just so we don't have to keep going
Do you want to
ask.
leave art project management and sculpture maintenance as is?
Yes. Because it wasn't even, hadn't spent it from last year. So it's just carrying over.
Tracy?
With one question on the actuals, machinery and equipment of $46,792. A lot of money, but I don't see that. Where would that be represented in what you have up there?
Art project management, I think, is pretty much all of that. So that's all been art placement. Everything from the installation of the two Kinnebrew pieces that we did last year, and then expenditures related to the angel statue.
Is that unusual or is that expected?
We don't know. That's in the detail.
I don't know. You guys
We don't-
have more experience than I do as far as that goes.
So,
Mary?
so the frustrating part is that this is the same thing that happened last year, at least for me. Then when we had the budget piece, and then we talked about this, and then we had the workshop, and then the council wants to know what we're doing with this. What does this mean? And so I know that we just said it's just a placeholder, for right now, but just like Tracy said, like machinery and equipment, it's not broken out to what it means, what it
I
actually
think
did.
to move this forward, we've got a motion on the table to take this down, and at least let's throw something down and we can adjust fires because it's just a budget. There's money that's there. We know the big ticket item is $50,000 to framework for a plan, and that is gonna help drive everything. And we know we need these community outreach ones that we're aware of. Yes, we have stuff that's on, you know, the expenditures for maintenance and stuff we don't know about. So let's just leave that there. Those numbers we can roll over because we're probably going to have something, and it could be unforeseen. If we spend it, fine. If we don't, fine, that's fine too. But there's a motion on there with the numbers that were adjusted. Would anybody be comfortable? Any more comment on that?
And I can comment real quick to Mary's comment. So I think where she's talking about is really here under art project management. This is where you need to have discussion of, okay, what art pieces do we want to place? What is it that we want to accomplish this year? We'll actually want to carry over that 10,000 for the utility boxes would go into this. And then anything else that you want to install for this year would go into this number. So this number probably needs a little bit of discussion for you guys to plan out what you want to do this year as far as that goes. Discretionary is all listed here under support of community programs. And then sculpture maintenance is going to be the art placards, and then whatever we come up with a solution for the acorn sculpture. And then you have your art plan. So that's basically the breakout of it.
Well, let's make sure that we get the 10,000, the wrapping of the boxes, the 10,000 that was, they said, yes, we want to continue that. We haven't used any of that money yet. So let's make sure that stays in.
Yeah, I'll just roll that over there.
Cynthia?
And Tracy, right, machinery and equipment, this 46.7 number, we've never seen a bill. Like as a group, they don't come to us as a group and say, is it okay to pay this? I mean, and I don't think that's our role, but I would like to see the detail of that. It would give us some education on what it's costing to install. If that really is the dollar amount to install artwork, we need to know, we need to have a good understanding of that. I think that seems really high. So I would like to see the detail.
I was present when they installed the one across from McDonald's, and that was an expensive install. There were a lot of bodies, a lot of concrete, a lot of cranes. There was a lot going on. And it was all like whatever that special labor has to be, like.
And wasn't that welding and the painting and, I
Yep.
mean, all that kind
Yep.
of stuff is included in that, I'm assuming?
Brian? Yep.
Yeah, so Liz pulled up the details for the 46,000, and it doesn't have like exactly on there what everything is, but you can see the invoice amounts. We can do a little homework and like
'Cause-
what exactly each one is.
And that will be a question, I would think if this shows up at council and they look at this exact thing and they're like, hey, what was $47,000? Our commission, what'd you spend $47,000 on? I don't know. Machinery and stuff. It says right there, machinery and stuff. So, but again, the motion that's on the table with those adjustments, Brian, that you've made is, do we have to revisit the motion again? Is everybody to accept the budget with the changes that Brian has made and move forward with it for 2024 as a start?
Well, the numbers changed during the motion, so you probably need to state the amounts that you want.
I think the amount that was added was making sure that we have the utility wrapping 10,000 carried over.
Yeah, hold on one one sec. We'll show you the breakout and I'll show you the sheet one more time.
And that was Mikhail. Thanks, Mikhail. For those of you keeping track at home.
Ooh, those are little, let me see.
And again, does this serve any purpose for us right now, except,
After, you can look at it after your motion.
yep,
Yeah,
okay.
This is the breakout of that 46,000.
And so we'd have to pull each of those invoices to look exactly what it is, but you can see that there's like 12,000, so I don't know if that's redevelopment project or 4,500, 9,200. And they look like invoices, so we would pull those and look at them, but that's kind of the breakdown of how many, charges there have been.
The big thing was it was money that was spent, and we needed to spend it. So it needed to be done, look,
also wanna know what it was.
get her done, okay. Were there any other changes to the, yep.
And keep in mind, I mean, this is just an opening discussion,
Yep,
right? So
it's-
we can have this as a draft, and like I said, if you want a little more work on it. we
If
can-
council comes back and says, that's too much, then, okay, then we'll adjust fires on that. But this is where we're throwing a ballpark figure at them. And the biggest one that we want is framework. Because that'll drive us in the future so that we can, next year when we're having this, or in the summer when we're having this discussion, we're a lot more informed and intelligent on it. And, yeah.
We have a
And like
direction.
we know what we're doing. Now, that being said,
I guess I should revisit.
yep,
Okay, I will revisit the motion made. So the motion will be to accept the 2024 revised budget as shown for a total of $82,000.
have a second?
I'll second.
Carla? All in favor? Okay. It's, yep, unanimous.
And council had approved these. And Gideon brought that to them for those two, so it's really just a revision of these. They've already heard, and we're fine with how, what things you guys were getting involved with. So.
I think the important thing for them to understand is that the area that we're kind of wrapping our heads around is the community outreach, and we're working hard on that. And we put money towards it. And the, oh, by the way, would be that we want to do something at Holland Happening, and we want to do the primary sponsorship for the wearable art. Okay, you guys happy? Let's move to item number B. 5B is Holland Happening Event Booth, naming of the Stumbling Ducks on Pioneer Way. And that is an idea, or that's where Tracy and I and Liz got together in our little subcommittee for outreach, and we decided to zero in on one thing and one thing only. What was the most important thing? We said, let's go for the ducks, and let's go for Holland Happening, and let's try to make Holland Happening the event. And I reached out to my daughter, who's an artist, because we thought it'd be fun to name the ducks. And I know you've got Mikhail's got the thing for, she came up with Waddling Through Whidbey. We just couldn't come up with anything for Oak Harbor. But then I thought of Paddling Down Pioneer. But those are the ducks right there. And then there's another one for a coloring sheet. Yes.
Naming of the ducks will not change the title the artist gave their work, Stumbling Ducks.
Stumbling Ducks.
This is outside of recognizing that. I just wanted to make that statement.
And there's a picture that we were thinking, the other version of the coloring page, and the gist behind that was the accuracy of the background of where those guys really live. So, the artist is willing to take any comments that you guys have on that. And the other thing that we talked about was that this would be an ideal jump-in event for Framework, for us to be alongside with a booth there and let people know what we are, what we do, what we want to do, and listen to people as they come by. So with that, I'll stop. I'll turn over to Tracy, because you were there too. You can more ideas.
Thanks, JR. We've met a few times as a subcommittee, and we have lots of great ideas, but we felt that it was important to choose one and move forward and take it into action for this year, so we can start to get the ball rolling with promotions. And having something fun like naming the ducks is a nice way to engage the community, rather than us just talking to them. That's a way for them to be engaged in the process and engaged with a sculpture that's been part of the downtown Oak Harbor area for a while now, and maybe is not getting any kind of recognition. So it's just a way to get started, and nice, perfect timing with with maybe also doing our community outreach with the RFP art plan, and that way we can have a booth together and catch people as they're coming up and commenting, and then it would be a perfect engagement to start to have a conversation for those that are willing to stay and talk about their feelings about art.
Liz, because Liz Lang's on our little group too, so she was there.
Well, I'm just the support, the staff support for your group, which I love being, so thank you. I did reach out to Georgia Gerber, who is the artist. I've left a couple messages at the contact information that was on the website, and I do think it's accurate because it was their voices on the voice machine, so I think it's good. Anyways, haven't heard back though. As far as I know, we wanted to check with the artist to, one, see if there already is a name for each individual duck, because if there is, we'll change course.
Middle names.
Yep, middle names. Well, then we'll come up with another really brilliant idea, I'm sure. And also just to get her, kind of support and okay, and maybe she wants to come and be a part of the Holland Happening part, or be there for some photos and things like that. And also, I did get confirmation too that not only can we have a booth, but she said that we could get that booth next to the ducks. So the placement next to the ducks has also been approved by the chamber, which I think is fabulous. And then just a comment for the coloring sheet, and Cynthia's comment made me think about this. Maybe we should, the header of our coloring sheet should be Stumbling Ducks, and put the artist's name there, and then have the naming of the individual ducks, just to give her, the artist, that recognition, and that we recognize that is the name of it.
Therese.
If we're going to start having a presence at these festivals and functions, it might be nice if I know city has swag clothing, but it could have like the city insignia on it, and then maybe the Arts Commission insignia on it, so that when we're all gathered together, maybe it's a denim shirt or a vest or something simple, that when we're together and doing something, it's recognizable who we are.
I'm looking at Mary's face, I'm sorry. I'm not sure she's into the uniform thing.
No, we're gonna get a duck outfit for Mary to wear.
Call on me.
A sign spinner.
Call on me.
Okay.
She wrote the
Therese.
note and asked me to do the words.
Carla?
I also wanted to say that we don't want to step on Framework's toes because we're paying them a lot of money to do this. So we have to make sure that this, us being in the booth with them is going to be okay, or we're working with them.
That was,
Not against
we
them.
specifically addressed that. Our big thing was, okay, Framework, here's your event. This could be your coming out party, and we've got an idea to throw in. What do you think of it? If they shoot it down and say, that's a dumb idea. But the Ducks still probably need a name, and that's just a little fun element to bring in there, so.
Or we don't
But-
share, we get our own.
I think we want to partner. These guys are coming up, this is our plan. These are our buddies. We can be next to them.
I participated in a meeting at the chamber about Holland Happening specifically, and it's a challenge because there isn't much that's Dutch anymore, and that they're reaching out, they're not finding. And Linden was a big Holland Happening thing, and they haven't done anything since 2008. Nobody's aware of that, and nobody does Dutch shoes, nobody does Dutch cooking, nobody does all this stuff. The couple that bought Teravan made some good suggestions about blue and white Delft chalk art on the streets, and they've got some really good suggestions, but Cheryl Grahan wants to limit the entrants that are not Dutch themed. So it's going to be very complicated, but I think they need our help because it's like, we're going to try to make this happen and keep it going, but if we can't do it,
That's just they want us to have a booth.
Yep.
We got a booth.
Yep.
We got Framework that we want. We definitely have to talk to them. And it's going to be in front of the Ducks. And let's go, there's a starting point for us. And we know that our subcommittee has to meet again to flush this further down the road so we can be a little bit more exact, because we were talking about like the swag. Yeah, there should be, one of those things on there was a sticker. So anybody that was looking out there, there's an example of a sticker. I know you can see that. There we go. That's just a rough draft. There definitely could be a T-shirt on this. There's a lot of things that we can play with this as we flush this further down the road. Now, go at Liz.
In my conversation with Cheryl at the chamber, she also mentioned that they're looking for assistance with the kids corner they're wanting to do. So with my recreation hat on, I said, hey, that might be something we can look at doing. But she spoke specifically about the chalk project too. And so if there was something that the Art Commission wanted to be a part of as far as providing art opportunities, crafts that are Dutch themed or otherwise for kids or youth, then I'd be happy to help coordinate something like that too.
When are they meeting?
Who are
Again, the chamber, are they having a
that's a good
formal
question.
meeting someplace that, like, we could send somebody there just to be a fly on the wall to, like, network with them?
Sabrina and Mikhail were there.
Well, that's them, that's not us.
I can find out if there's another planning meeting and plan to attend or let you know. And
Because
Coordinate.
we can be either outsiders, or we can try to be, or have an input on it, or help drive the train, or get run over by it.
We have a
Mary?
board member of the chamber. Mary's a board member now.
Okay, is that something that you want to be our representative for, by default? And now, is that a smile of, like, turn on your mic, we need you.
I will default attend in order to support this group and our support of the community.
Is that enthusiasm?
That is.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm
enthusiastic.
understanding your
And I
enthusiasm.
will join you.
Is that enthusiasm too? Okay.
It is what it is.
All right. Do we have any more discussion on that? Because if not, we can move on to B, which is the acorn sculpture. C, acorn sculpture. Aside from it's falling apart, or it
Cynthia and Therese.
Did you guys visit it?
Did you guys have a discussion with Pat?
I did have a discussion with Pat. Pat's still leaning on Tim's design and $40,000, and I've seen plenty of things that we could buy prefabricated and just get it covered. Pat said he would be glad to come up and take care of it, but he's still kind of leaning on the fantasy of a really expensive shelter for it. And I just told him I just honestly didn't feel like that was going to happen, and he was cool with that. But that finding something that fits our budget is not his plan.
Did he have any comment on how to repair the statue or how other wooden statues that he's done were treated that aren't covered?
He mentioned that he felt a city employee that we know was perfectly capable of managing, taking care of that with a little coaching.
To do the repair?
It's not complicated. I think it's, yeah. That city employee was involved in most of the art installations, so he's aware of and very present when it was actually being carved. So I don't think it's going to die in front of us, but we should get ahead of it.
So do we have any action that we need to do on this thing right now?
We should try to find maybe a prefabricated shelter that's just a roof and 4 legs and get it over it. I don't know if anybody heads down the island, but the place where people take their horses off their trailers at Libby Road, there's a covered thing that's no big deal. It looks good. It's Pacific Northwest, and I think it could probably be acquired for $5,000. I mean,
Yeah, I guess kind of 3 issues here are one, the repair of the current cracks in the statues, especially the larger one underneath, and then some sort of a treatment to the wood to help mitigate any further cracking, and then discussion on it if you want to put a shelter, if that, I don't know how well that will protect it from the elements, but it'll provide some level of protection, I imagine. And how much do you want to spend on something like that?
And how much of that work is going to actually stop the cracking if it's just basically settling, regardless if it's outside, even if it's covered, it's not actually, it's just stopping it from the water hitting it, but it's not stopping the wind and things like that.
freezing and unfreezing.
Right. So
And he has other wooden statues, and I don't know if any of them are covered. So I guess that's the question I would have for him is, how are you treating these, and do you have a recommendation for a treatment plan for it?
And it might just be the wood.
I'll reach back out.
That's it. You can't do anything if that's what the wood is.
Okay, well, let's put that on again to come back on that on our next meeting. Go ahead, yep.
So
Cynthia.
I always fall back on, we have no plan. But we really have we're working towards that. But I mean, going forward, maybe Pat can put in writing the love and care maintenance plan for this, right? And then assess associated cost with it. And that would hold true for every other installation we have town. So again, it's just with Framework Works guidance, all of this stuff will come in that plan and become our lanes will be very clear.
That being said, is it possible that you could go to Pat and say, give me a mama bear, papa bear, baby bear, I want to have it fixed? What would it cost us to do this so that we can make a judgment on what we want to do?
And how is the maintenance over time? Because even though there is a city worker who could do it, if something happened to that city worker, then how would we do that?
There should just be a plan, a
Right.
recipe, a
Yeah.
guideline.
Okay,
And I can make that happen. I don't know if it's going to happen for free, though.
And do you want to look at putting a shelter over it? So we had a proposal for 40,000. The commission had discussed it, rejected that. We can look at cheaper versions of some kind of a shelter if he feels like that would be needed. I don't know if that, like, how much coverage does it? Are we trying to keep all sun and rain off? Is it something
some
that
point,
the cold with the expansion and
What's the point?
on expansion of the wood, what the seasons is affecting, or?
Tracy?
I think a shelter is probably just going to protect it just partially, not completely, because it's going to be exposed from the side, and since it's still outside, it's an outside installation, it's still going to be exposed to the weather to some degree,
There's no.
unless it's in a case.
Cynthia?
So I know that Gary Oak Society is very concerned about this piece, and Laura did send in a public comment about it, which is fueling this investigation on maintenance of this piece. I don't think any of us want to see it fall apart, so I want to make that very clear. We love the Acorn too. But originally, there was a fancy drawing of an oak leaf hanging over it, and we knew that that was going to be too expensive. It is of my opinion that there are other installations he has out and about on the island that are cared for properly without shelters. So I don't see, other than it being another extension of the art, I don't see it as a necessary thing.
I think that's what we want
Yep.
right now is we want that thing just sitting right there, and we want it protected because it's gonna, the elements are gonna get it. If we put something up, I can see 50-mile-an-hour wind coming there and making $40,000 disappear, tumbling away. Okay, let's go to 5D, park identifier signs.
So this is really more of an item for the Parks Board, but did want to kind of run it by you. So we're looking for a design for park identifier signs. This is an example of one that I did in a different community. Something that just, it has a city logo on it. It has a very clear, easy to read naming of the park, and then it has the address. There's many different styles and ways to do it. Would love to get your guys' thoughts on what you would like to see as far as a unified format for identifier signs. Right now we have a smorgasbord of different styles. And this is something that we're going to put into the budget for the next biennial budget.
I like that style.
But to do that, we need to get some quotes based off of a design that we like.
Mary? Or Therese, somebody, one of you guys, you both had your hands up.
Well, anyway, I like the idea because when you're driving around, one, you can't either see the sign or they're very old and dried out looking, almost. I have a problem with some of the park stuff anyway, so that's a wonderful idea to modernize and also elevate the visuals of our town to the part where we care about the parks. So the idea of having the city logo and uniformity with the parks and the names across the city would be wonderful. I don't know where the Arts Commission just ideas would come in, but the one that you set up, even with the address, because like, where is the park? Oh, there's the address, because it is, with a QR code on it would be great too.
I think it's going to be helpful too for people that utilize our parks for parties and birthday parties and things like that, so they can just give a rough idea if you're not familiar with all of our parks. But, well, that wasn't what I was going to say.
But there's also parks that are just like,
Carla, say something.
I remember.
Too late.
Maybe, Brian, the Parks Department, our board could come up with a couple different styles or something, and then we could look at them. I think it's a great idea. I love it. But maybe when you get closer to figuring out what you're gonna do, is that what you're gonna do? Is that what you want to do?
Well, we're starting with you just to see if you guys have some artistic ideas on a style. Yeah. This is like, this has
Therese.
kind of a rusted metal frame, and then
Make it
very contrasting colors with green and blue. We can make The sign either have like the city logo colors, it's kind of a, I don't know what you call that blue, kind of a lighter blue and a yellow. But we want something that pops, right? That's very easy to see.
The Smith Park sign is spectacular, and we have an abundance of Gary Oak wood in that shed up back, and we could have some of that milled and have it routed and carved and painted, and we already have the material. And again, I know they're doing some granite posts for something else in Smith Park, but we could utilize some of other natural stones to the island, or just create, because Smith Park sign is
You like that
gorgeous.
style,
Yeah.
wood sign style?
What does it look like?
Carla, were you going to say something? Tracy was going to say something.
I was.
Go.
I think it's an excellent idea. It really helps to start to unify Oak Harbor. So I'm really pro that idea. I would ask if you have a budget yet so we kind of can gear the type of sign.
No, we'll come up with a design and what we want,
Oh.
get some quotes, and then we
Okay.
make the budget based on it.
Okay, got it. And the second is how many? Do you know how many you're going to need?
26?
That's a lot.
33.
33. Wow, wonderful.
That was Randy. Randy talked. Brandon. No, you're Randy now.
Nope, I should have used the mic. It's Brandon.
Brennan?
Brandon
Oh my
Cable.
God.
Okay, Randy.
This is the Smith Park sign.
Here, I'll throw a crazy one at you, because I just saw that on the news today that Paris came out and talked about what the Olympic medals are, and they displayed them. And all of the medals have remnants of the Eiffel Tower in them. So they're all made with pieces of the Eiffel Tower, and on one side of the medal it has the Eiffel Tower, and the other side it has like Greece. Now I would, not that we have an Eiffel Tower, but is there any leftover wood from the windmill?
There is.
Each one of those,
I wouldn't use it.
no, it doesn't have to, all they had was a piece. So I mean, if you're looking for some uniformity or something like pop, snaz, whatever, hey, by the way, here's a piece of whatever.
I think the community, the way they rallied around that tree coming down in front of the post office, I think they would be thrilled to see that we're using that wood in the city. I mean, just even if we don't do the Gothic metal, just keep it simple, but do something similar out of oak, out of the Gary Oak, in every park, and just, we're trying to preserve our history here.
Tracy.
I'm for simple.
It's simple.
Yeah. It's a sign. So I think it should read and be legible, and so I think simple. But I love the idea of tying it into the oak.
Mary.
I'm also for simple, but also sustainability over time, because graffiti, cleaning, and maintenance, and so that has to be in consideration of, you're going to put all these signs up, how long do you want the signs to be there, and what are the opportunities for vandalism, because I'm an insurance person. Risk management is always.
Okay, is that enough? Do you guys have enough?
That's all good feedback, yeah.
Okay. So let's move on to 5E, the Kinnebrew Collection, remaining installations, Gate of Inspiration, 3 totems. Is there any update on that we need to talk about? Nothing new on that. Okay, let's go to 5F, Subcommittee. Okay, go ahead.
Is there
Tracy.
something that should be new on that? Is there a step we should be planning?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, like,
Well, may I?
yeah, Cynthia.
To recap our last meeting's conversation, I brought up a suggested location for us to consider, and Therese then threw the idea of talking with Main Street about putting something in Serendipity Lane versus where I had suggested, which was across from, on school property, just to keep the idea secure of wanting to see the Kennebrews down the I-5 corridor leading to the water, which would mean the totems would go, just to reiterate what I said last meeting, the totems would go on this, with permission, on that little grassy knoll. And then the other suggested one for the Gate of Inspiration is at the Friend Marsh, which would kind of start that idea of having a walkway of art down on that, in that area that we've discussed before. And I don't know, Therese, did you have an opportunity to talk to Serendipity to see if they were even interested in the piece down there?
I didn't because
Okay.
of this album.
Okay. So what's next for that?
I don't
That
know.
really is next steps, is you guys just need to finalize locations.
Is that all it's really going to take?
For
Because,
us
I
to-
mean, we could finalize the location, I think, for the Gate of Inspiration, right, at Friend.
The entrance where the big boulders are?
Yes, there.
Very visible.
So then how do we move forward with that? Like, do we just get a concrete pad, or is it acceptable that we put it
It's
down
some
there?
heavy equipment.
Yeah.
Once you have the finalized location, then we'll create a site plan and go through the permit process.
Okay, awesome.
And then,
Let's,
Make a motion.
Okay. I'll make a motion to come up with a site plan for that, for the Gate of Inspiration at Friend Marsh.
I just second that.
Thank you, Mary.
All in favor? Unanimous.
Can I?
Cynthia, do you want to reach out to the school and I'll reach out to Margaret and then we'll come back to each other? Sure. Okay.
So that will be for the 3 totems then?
Yes.
And I have a question. The last installation done for the Kennebrew at the Boys and Girls Club was under agreement with their district director, and the MOU is on file. That could be used as an example to go forward with to the school should they think that this is a cool idea. But I heard some rumblings that that wasn't handled properly. So is there
Yeah, so when
something
that
we need to
was-
be informed on?
When that was presented to council, there were several of them that didn't like the idea of not having it on city property, having it on private property, just with issues of public access to this public art piece. There was some miscommunication there, I guess. They had asked the city administrator to bring it back to council, but they did go ahead and go forward with the approval, which then went to Gideon, and he went ahead and installed it before it came back to council for discussion. So they were expecting to have more dialogue on that. I imagine they're going to want to have a discussion if we don't place it on city property. So we want to take,
The right steps.
yeah, and just make sure that council is all on board
Right.
with that.
Okay, thank you.
So to identify very specifically the location that you're looking at,
It would be the intersection where Island Cafe and Tractor Supply, the school administration building?
One block before Whidbey Avenue. One block
Or the Friend Marsh.
south.
Yeah,
No.
I think it is by Island Cafe. It's
Yes.
right across the street from Island Cafe.
The one I'm talking about, the school
Or
property.
Kitty Corner. It's Kitty Corner.
no,
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so-
what you were
okay.
making motion
Okay.
on for the location.
Yeah.
Okay, so Erie Street, it's on Erie Street, the end of Erie Street, when you go by the bank, right? Am I saying the same
Yeah.
thing that you're saying? And there's, park in, the trail entrance. Can you see the bank?
Over.
The-
Right there.
Yes, yes. Actually more in that little pocket, right? Or do you, I was, if you go farther down the trail and see that.
the other end.
Oh. Well, we had talked about that one too. Okay, so that would be a good location right there. Or if you follow the trail all the way to
Windjammer or?
to Windjammer.
Okay.
At the
So other
end
one-
of the, yeah, keep going, there you go. There,
Oh, yeah.
right? Is that what you're
Yeah.
talking about, Therese?
Yeah, and that
Okay.
way it's really visible to the park.
Yeah.
Right
Colors.
there.
Yeah,
Somewhere on the side there, not of
High
course
five.
on the path, but,
that's a good one.
And that's Gate of Inspiration.
Yes, that's a high five.
So
No
right
matter
here?
what. That's a good one.
or maybe the other side.
We don't know on the other side.
You might.
You do?
Private for public. buildings.
I don't know. Okay, so the other side then, the side you're thinking of.
There's a boulder on that side, right? I think there's a boulder.
I think there's a boulder on the other side, but I don't know.
We might be able to move it.
So one of the, yeah, in that area. I'm gonna check it out tomorrow.
So that's where we want it?
Yes.
That's really good.
That's where the motion that we
Yes.
just approved said to
Yes.
put it there? Okay, that's
Yeah.
where it
Yes.
is.
Which ties into the continued development in the park area.
And the totems, we'll figure out where we're gonna put that for the next,
Yeah.
the next meeting, we'll bring the totems up for a vote.
Okay, so that's the location for Gate of Inspiration.
Yes.
Okay.
5F, subcommittee updates. We already did our outreach update when we talked about the ducks. You guys have a subcommittee?
It would most likely be incorporated with Brian's update because of its surrounding frameworks.
Okay, with that, we'll move to 5G, Parks and Rec Director updates.
Okay, so we have several things here. Let's start with utility boxes. So I'll first turn it over to Brandon. So we needed to get dimensions and measurements for the utility boxes. There were some discussions back and forth with a couple, and Liz was also having some discussions as well with potential installers on what is needed there. You want to talk a little bit to that, Brandon?
Yeah. So I met with Humphrey Signs on Tuesday night, I believe, and so she was nice enough to sit down with me, and I just don't know a ton about what the wrappings and what you guys are shooting for. So I had to sit down with her. She had some questions about how intricate we wanted to make the images themselves. Are we going to have? She gave a couple options where if you've got the box, we can have a big image on the front of the box. We can have a medium size, maybe 2 medium-sized images. We could have 3 small-sized images. We could take an image and just start rotating it around and make a wrap like that. The differences between the image that you guys would like on the wrap is going to, one's going to be a little more intricate than the other one. If we have a larger image on the front, that's going to be easier to place and wrap it. If she has to try to tie in the images on where she's cutting the wraps, then that's going to take a little more time.
And with that, part of that concern was, all these utility boxes have different little subsidences and handles and, hinges and little gizmos on it that they have to kind of fit around and cut around. She's concerned if there's going to be like text or anything like that would distort it.
Therese?
I was present for the entire installation all day long for the boxes that the grant money from Home Connection did. And she was she likes that design. We like that design. It gets more art on the boxes, and it's simpler and less expensive. So have you seen the boxes that are wrapped on the corner of Pioneer?
That's the one,
Yes.
the,
So it's basically,
The owl? No?
no? It's a baby blue box with all kinds of.
Yes, yes,
So-
yep.
They just take a sheet and then they do a JPEG picture on it,
Yeah.
and then they put on their, whatever their magic computer stuff, and they put a frame around it, and it's one big sheet, and she says it's easier and less expensive to do it that way.
Okay.
That's exactly the way we want to do the Arts Commission boxes. That's the more kids on the boxes and the more artwork, the more, and the senior center. So, I mean, just, it represents more community members and gives more excitement about going and visiting this outdoor gallery that we have. And it does become an outdoor gallery when it's all hung gallery style.
Cynthia?
So we're kind of backing into this. Just help me understand the path we're on. So we've gotten approval from council to spend up to $10,000 to wrap these boxes. That box is checked. All we've been trying to do is get a written bid, because the last email from Humphreys was 2022 or something. It was years ago. So we're not asking them to give us a bid for every box. Could they give us a bid for a high and low? Like, can they give us a general bid so we could start the work?
Yeah,
I mean,
but
we
they-
have the money to spend. We just need it in writing
They
to
need
show
the
to council.
They need the dimensions,
Oh,
which
okay.
is what we're putting together on a sheet. So I think what we're doing is, we're giving the general dimensions of the box, and then
Okay.
taking pictures on all sides so they can see like what things that they'll have to. like,
Okay. I
work
feel like
around,
you're doing
right?
their work, but thank you.
Liz, you want to say something? Yeah,
so
go ahead.
Part of the conversation too that we've had a little bit of is if there are certain boxes that were a little too many bumps and handles or shapes, then maybe we replace those with simpler boxes, or we just start with the boxes that are just actually a box, right, and not little bump outs. And I think that would be fine. So I think if we can identify, and because we don't know how much each one's going to cost, so we don't know if we'll do, how many we're going to be able to do, let's identify. We know that we have art for, from the group, our older adult art class has art, and then I think you have some school groups, or the ones that we already know we have art for, then I think we get the bids for those and start moving forward. But that was the feedback from both Blue Fox Printing and Humphreys, were that we need dimensions in order to bid it, and that they didn't feel comfortable, specifically Humphreys, because of the one she's done in Langley and knowing how long that took her. They didn't feel comfortable in giving us just kind of a range bid.
And I had that
Because
discussion with her, saying
think we
it's
all
not,
have,
we've all
each of
had
us.
that. It's not Langley. We want to do it Home
Yeah.
Connections. What
Yep.
we could do is, because like one of those is on Heller and Crosby, it's kind of out there. Maybe we turn around and prioritize it. We can prioritize the boxes to say 1 through 11 what we want, and then we're willing to, if you give us estimates, we'll knock that one out. These are the 2 that we don't need. So, Therese?
The Arts Commission is designating the 2 across from Wells Fargo as the box we're going to wrap.
Okay, that's good to know.
Well, if they go give us dimensions, I will try again to meet with the school district. We were going to have talk on the day that we got snowed out, or the schools were closed. But I'll reach out to Dwight Lundstrom again. Oh, we keep going with Parks update.
Okay, the art plan. So we had a great discussion with Framework, just to negotiate and talk a little bit about the scope for the art plan and try and get that proposal amount a little closer to the 50,000 that we had talked about in the commission. So they're working on dialing that in for us. They have a deadline to get that back to me by February 14th, so we can put it on the council workshop agenda and then get that passed by council. Bobo Kai sent, their project manager sent a list of several different websites that they had worked on and some great examples of things they had done, just to give us some ideas. So that's kind of where that's at. Anything, Cynthia or anyone that you want to add in as far as that discussion went?
No, and I do have the date for the workshop on my calendar to be at the workshop, Brian. Once you get that revised bid, could you just send out the sheet that they update their costs on, just so we can compare to the subcommittee?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the workshop will be February 28th, and we'd love to have the art commission there to talk with council about the art plan. And then we're anticipating, as long as we get all questions answered and everyone is good with the proposal, just to put that on the consent agenda for the March 5th for approval. Okay,
What's there-
as was mentioned, Joanna oh, sorry, were there any other,
Was there a time on the 28th and a location?
here at 6 o'clock?
6 or 2? Workshop.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, that's right, workshop, 2 o'clock. As was mentioned, Joanna Hansen has submitted her resignation from the commission, so we're still looking for 1 more vacancy to fill. Want to help get the word out for that. We conducted recreation coordinator interviews last week, and Liz will be doing second interviews with 3 fabulous candidates tomorrow. One has a background in arts, one has a background in fitness, one has a background in athletics. I wish we could just hire them all, because that's kind of where we want to be in a few years when we have all the programs built out. But we're really excited to get this position on. And I think a lot of their focus is going to be around not just, building up of youth programs and adult programs, but also really working very heavily with our programming. I imagine that'll probably be the first breakout we have of this position is an arts coordinator out of that. But until then, they'll play a few hats, and this will be our main arts staff member when we get them on. The Wearable Art Show. You want to speak to that a little bit, Liz?
Yes, we've already spoke a little bit about it, so I won't take too much more time, but it is on April 20th, and it is a wonderful opportunity for artists of all ages and skill levels and beginners and beyond to create art and display art. And we do encourage youth participation. We've reached out to the schools and given them the information for Call to Artists. And the foundation does give every youth participant who submits a piece automatically gets a $100 for participation, because they want to recognize that this probably took time and money and to create this art. Nope. But yes, plans are moving forward wonderfully. We've had a lot of great community involvement, and in preparation for the event, the back wall of our stage has been repainted. It was in kind of a dual painting of brown and blue up top because we didn't have scaffolding to reach, and that has all been painted a beautiful rich black, and it just elevates the whole space. I think every event that's held there is going to have a much richer feel to it for that. So anyways, it's a wonderful program to bring art alive in the community, and we're excited about all of the entities who are helping.
I lost track. Did we say we were going to do the $3,000? Did we vote yes?
Yes.
So we're your,
Yeah.
yeah,
On
okay.
behalf of the Oak Harbor Senior Center Foundation, I thank you.
Okay. Okay, Cynthia.
So Liz, will you give a shout out to the painters?
Yes, I have like a whole list of individuals that helped with that, and so you might
Oops,
Only
have to
because it
help
came
me, but
in
we
as
had-
donations to you.
Yes, so it was brushwork. I feel like I'm going to miss something here. Hold on, I've got, let's see. Where did those texts come in? Because we had Brushworks, then we had Painter Alley, and then we had Island Trollers. Is that what it's called for the scaffolding? Okay, I was not sure if I was saying that right. And am I forgetting an entity? Okay, so all of 3 of those were in-kind donations then? So you're saying, wow, that was amazing. So I do plan, I took some photos. I have before, during, after with Brushworks there. I have Painter Alley's logo, and I'll do a social media post too to share that out and set it out in our all-member email just to highlight their, donations. Was awesome. And I have to say that Cynthia, I'd like to also thank Cynthia because it was her doings, her and Larry's doings in seeing a need and finding a way to fill it in and making calls and asking for things to happen. And so thank you, Cynthia.
Okay, and then we are finally at the end. So the shoreline variance has been approved for the Angel of Creativity statue, and the building permit has been approved. We're done with the permit. So next is the pre-construction meeting. That'll happen in March. You'll be invited to that. Now, because the high water mark was pushed back by DNR, which is why we had to go back to review and adjust that. And we had to push the statue further in. We decided that we need to do the renovation and reconfiguring of the park before we put in the statue. So we're going to move the flagpole, as Beth Munns, when she was on city council, suggested, to Memorial Park, and we'll reconfigure that entryway and parking lot and take out the roundabout and seed that in preparation for the statue. So we're going to try and get that done before we are all set to put that in. We have streets that'll be helping with that work, so we're working on the site plan for that right now, and so we're going to get this done this year, which is good. So hopefully we'll have a good understanding of timeline for installation at the pre-construction meeting.
Who's in charge of the PR rollout? Because this thing has never been embraced, and it still is not embraced. Well, you embrace it, and a lot of us embrace it, but there are a lot of people that, the Whitby News Times and the word has gotten out there, and people, this has been an issue. And then now it's like, it's finally going up.
There aren't very many people that know all the facts.
Well, there's where I'm talking about, is rolling this out so that there is people, that people are excited about this, and people aren't going out and looking to vandalize it, or there's going to be letters to the editor going back, this, et cetera, et cetera. We need to be in front of this.
Yeah.
And who's the person?
Sabrina Combs is our communications manager for the city, and so she would manage that. That's something that we could talk about at the pre-construction meeting. And I think a lot of what you're speaking to were comments and feelings that came out at the beginning of this process. They did a survey, they're looking at placement of it. It was right at the same time they were talking about installing the windmill. Our piece was originally red, and people had feelings about that. There was feelings about the name of the statue, and a lot of people didn't know. They didn't know exactly. Okay.
Those feelings still exist, because I get those questions when I turn around and I say that I'm on the art commission, and we're talking that statue, that thing that you're just sticking up there, et cetera, and it wasn't approved. So those perceptions are out there, and those perceptions are reality, and I just want to make sure that we're addressing this and embracing this, because this is a big deal on the good side.
International news, reconstruction discussion.
So,
And we definitely
okay.
should have an event around it, right? Have a good ribbon cutting.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll want to do some media outreach leading up to all that.
Okay, we can move on to member comments, which is.
Oh, wait, one last thing. One last one. So we have we had a communication with Nick and Kendall Mann, or Mon, am I saying that right? Mann, who are artists from Port Townsend, and they have a mural called Song of the Salish Sea, and I'll share screen just so everyone can see what I'm looking at here.
That's so beautiful.
So this is the mural, and by panel. Obviously, you can see a lot of elements of indigenous
Nature.
influences, nature, wildlife, connection with the Salish Sea around us. The mayor is very supportive of this and would love to have it here in council chambers.
The mayor.
That would be beautiful, right?
Okay. Okay, Cynthia.
His.
Oh, go ahead,
sorry.
Brian.
I'm just pulling up. I'll share with his comment, and I'll turn it over to you guys for discussion. So his comment was basically, would love to see this hanging in City Hall on the wall behind the dais. The piece is $10,000. And I think, no, we have to. So I can forward this to everyone so they can take a look at it and get a little bit of the background. The mural is an expression of the interwoven connections between the natural world in the Puget Sound Salish Sea. It is a celebration of beauty, wonder, and joy in regard to the land and the waters of our area. Plants such as salal, Oregon grape, cedar trees, devil's club, foxglove, nettle, etc. weave their way through a landscape flanked by 2 black-tailed deer. A bald eagle anchors the centerpiece of the mural, symbolizing the heart of the landscape, a bridge between sky and water. An orca leaps from the dazzling water. The overall essence of the piece creates a harmony of symphonic-like vision that highlights the interconnected crown jewels of nature in the Salish Sea, a timeless portal into what's truly local.
Cynthia.
I think it's an absolutely beautiful piece. Thank you, Trees, for bringing it forward. And you did research on the artist. So, Brian, you have that as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think $10,000 is a bargain.
It is.
Where we hang it, I don't need to split hairs over it if it's here or somewhere else, but when the immediate thought I had when I saw it was to hang it in the interpretive center, to try to take that idea of having a space for an interpretive/cultural center in town somewhere. It could be just a baby step towards that. But again, I think we should purchase the
Is
piece.
it is it a permanent,
Nope.
so it can move?
It can move. It's on 4 boards. It's 20 feet long, 4 feet high, and it is 4 panels. So it could make its debut here, and then when we're really ready, we could move it to the interpretive center. But it can go.
Do we have the
To
funds
a-
to okay this right now and say we move to buy it?
Yes.
That's not an agendized item, so
Right.
we would
Okay.
need to have that.
Okay, so let's,
The budget.
Can we have an email meeting?
no. Let's just put it on the agenda, because now we're moving up to future agenda stuff, so can we put that on the agenda for, will that, how time critical is this?
It's time critical.
How time
It's in the gallery on Bainbridge Island.
How time critical is it?
I think
Think days, weeks, a month?
How long has it been in the gallery?
What, tell,
You could give staff direction to have the conversations with the artists and then we can bring that back to you. If we need to do a special meeting just to, if it is time sensitive within the next month, then we can do that.
I do know that the gallery it's in is moving to a smaller location, so it can't accommodate or take it with. So I don't know what their time frame is to have it removed, but it is their possession, and my thought would be, if we're gonna buy this from you, I want you to bring it to me and install it.
we've got procedures we got
But
to
if-
follow to
but
buy
if we
this
follow-
thing.
If we follow the procedures and we let them know that we have every intention of making this work, I think they would probably hold it for us, maybe remove it and take it to Port Townsend and then be ready to install it when we're ready to do that. But
So we can put this on a council agenda to have a discussion with them and have you guys present this.
I was just going to say, can it go to council with us being there on their agenda, because it needs their ultimate approval anyways, so that it goes to council and we could present it if it's on the agenda, and then they can approve it right there.
Yeah, so we can put it on,
Could it be part of
The-
the workshop, or is it too late, Mikkel? The
no,
the 28th?
the next workshop is the 28th, and
I mean, if we just get their consent and the head, yes, we'll move forward with this, that, like Therese said, it might be just what we need to secure the purchase.
if somebody from the city could contact them and just say, we're going through the process here and we're gonna try to expedite it, we'd love for you to, don't sell it to anyone else, please.
so I can still put it on the February 20th council agenda for the regular session.
So let's do that, and then have the, the same pictures are there to do it, and they say, hey, informally, whether or not we're there, somebody from the Art Commission is there to say, we're all on this thing, just give us the go and we'll make it happen. So let's do that. Okay.
Okay, I'll take care of it.
Cool. Are we up to member comments? Anybody have any comments? No, determination of future agenda items. The way I'm looking at it, we need to have, the Acorn needs to stay on this. The Ducks need to stay on this. The totem location needs to be finalized. E-boxes, the wrapping of the boxes. I don't know if there's anything left to buy that we talk about on the mural, but let's put the mural on there.
Can we-
Cynthia.
Can we not lose sight of the buskers program in Windjammer Park that Joanna was lead on?
So we can put that on the agenda, the buskers. And it would help me, so, because I feel like an idiot up here when I say, okay, Kennebrew collection, and we all give everybody the deer in the headlight look, how did it end up on the agenda, and who's going to lead, who's bringing this thing out and talking about it. So if we could get, Mikhail, if you could get the agenda out to us, does it come out to us all group like in advance that we can make another input on there? Because
No, I email Parks and Recreation Director and yourself as the chair for things to be added to the agenda, so I can.
Okay.
If you want it emailed to everyone, you can just email back to staff directly, not a group.
Or just to understand that everyone needs to send their agenda items to JR by the week before. they send them.
okay.
I have another comment. It has
Yeah.
nothing to do with that, so.
Okay, well, just so that we're smart and direct when an item comes up that was on the agenda for a reason, and somebody's gonna be the one to say, I know what you're talking about. Because a couple of them, I don't know what we're talking about. Okay, Cynthia, you were first, then Mary.
Okay, just a quick comment. I don't know if everybody knows, I'm involved with the Oak Harbor Music Festival, and budgets are in place going forward for this next season, and Windermere here in Oak Harbor and the Music Festival will partner again for 2024 Summer Concert Series in the park. So we're going with it again this year.
Mary?
For the next agenda item, can we talk about, I still want to talk about the kids. If we've talked about, if the city's talked about the student commissioners, and also information about the windmill, because we did all the update.
Brian might know that.
Next time.
Okay, well,
Next time.
next time. Now, who's taking, if we're going to do student commissioner, who's running with that? Okay, Mikhail, you got a hand up?
Yeah, I'll be reaching out to the school district to let them know that we're accepting applications.
Okay,
And, yeah, so we've already received a couple for some board.
okay. Therese?
With regards to the open seat in the Arts Commission, I believe it has to be a city resident, that they have to be a city resident. Is that correct?
Yes.
So I'm just looking for items to put on the agenda.
I just
So,
thought if
okay.
somebody's watching, they might, oh,
Yeah.
I want to be on the Arts Commission.
Nobody's watching.
So,
I think Mikhail will double confirm that.
any other things that we need to put on the agenda that anybody's coming up with? Anybody want to quit? I mean, I think we've got up to item 8 is adjournment. Anybody want to adjourn this thing? Oh, Mikhail's looking at me. Am I doing the right thing?
Yeah, no,
Okay, you looked like you were going to throw something at me.
She's going to answer the question.
we need a city resident for that.
Oh, city resident for that. Okay. Brandon, you got anything? Good enough. No, I'm just kidding. Welcome aboard, man. Thanks. We're looking forward for having you helping us out.
I'm very excited.
And Mr. Explosion Dude for the tech guy, I forgot your name already. You did a good job over there.
He's napping.
Nothing blew up. Thumbs up. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second? Okay, we quit. We're everybody all in favor? That was unanimous.